90.
The thing is, it's still,
Five. We're talking 1995. We're not talking 1965.
I know. Nikki's gone through the same thing. She's got her master's.
Yeah.
And she's out in the field, and people are going, "I can't believe you have a master's and you're out here doing this." She knows how to do it. It's something that needs to be done, but also she's a working woman archaeologist, and that's not easy to do.
Not easy to do. Yeah, I have a friend who has a master's degree in archaeology, and she gave up. She decided not to get the PhD because of that reason. She was older. First of all, she's older than Nikki. She's my age.
Yeah.
And she had been in geology, and it was worse. And so she took her field experience from geology and moved it over into archaeology, and it was some better, but nonetheless, once she finished the master's degree, she thought, I'm just not going to put myself through this. And she had another friend who was somewhat younger than her that had left after the master's program, had left and gone up to Chicago to do her PhD. And she just, as she watched her go through what she was going through with her PhD, she just went, I'm just not doing it. I'm just not.
I've never heard.
Don't have the energy.
Nikki hasn't even mentioned whether she would ever consider that. She has such bad things to say about the master's program.
Right.
That I think it probably put her off
it's
going
unlikely
any further.
that she would do a PhD.
Yeah.
It really, to me, in retrospect, I wish that I hadn't. Now, I say that, but here's the thing. If I had not decided that I was going to go for a PhD, if I had, and I have said numerous times in the past, wish I had gone to law school, because that was a possibility at the time. I was in Houston. I could go to the University of Houston School of Law. I wish that I had taken an MFA instead of an MA and just gone to work for the ballet or the opera or one of those places. That's dandy. I could have done that. But there's all this last 20 years of stuff that would not have happened for me. And I like what's happened to me, more or less. There have been struggles, and there have been, but I wouldn't have Joe. I wouldn't have met the people that I've met here. I wouldn't be living in this space and time. And
I wouldn't have had Foxy.
Right.
I wouldn't have had Foxy.
Right.
So you couldn't have done anything else.
Right, exactly. There's all kinds of experience. It's amazing the things, the choices that you make and how they touch people that you don't have even any clue exist. And yet, when you start, and this is the thing that has amazed me about being here, is that, okay, in 76, when my dad died, from 74 to 76, from like late 73 until late 75, there was a 2-year period that my dad was working on putting together a business plan and a group of investors to buy a carpet mill in Miami, Oklahoma. What I found sort of chilling and thrilling about that concept 30 years later was that Joe went to college in Pittsburgh, Kansas, and knew people in Miami and hung out in Miami a lot with people down in there. So there is instance one with universe conspiring to put us at least within 200 miles of each other. Okay. You, born in Texas, lived
born in Japan,
lived in Texas. Where in Texas? You lived some close to me at one point. I can't remember whether it was in the Dallas area or down around the coast. I can't remember.
Freeport.
Freeport. There you go. Freeport.
Well,
we used to go to.
Clute was as close as
Clute?
we got.
Oh my God!
Clute was as close as we got to Houston. But earlier we had lived in San Antonio, El Paso.
No, Clute. It was Clute that did it for me, because we used to drive through Clute on our way to the beach. Again, how bizarre is that you go 800 miles away from where you were raised and meet somebody who literally you could have seen when you stopped for gas. You know, I mean, again,
yeah, we weren't that far off the road to the beach.
You know, universe does stuff like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you know, there are other people that there have been the same kinds of things that I go, wow, and still I had to come to Kansas to be with these people.
Have you ever seen a movie called Miracles?
Mm-mm.
I don't know where I have a copy of it, but I could probably find a copy of it. It's incredible. It's just all these little incidents that lead to another incident that leads, and then, you know, and then later they crisscross again, and there's just the parallel stories happening at the same time, and occasionally they intersect, and it's really beautifully constructed film.
Yeah.
Underrated.
I think that it's not that I think that we have, you know, I don't think of in terms of predestination or any of those
there
kinds
can't
of
be
things.
predestination if there's no such thing as time.
Well, right. But I think that there is just certain things that you are supposed to, certain people and places that you're looking for, and we're blessed with some sort of psychic compass that guides us towards those people. Oh, that reminds me of something that I saw last night in this Bowie thing. And I tweeted it last night. He was talking about the 70s, and he said, I think I was psychically damaged. I think we were all psychically damaged. And that statement, particularly about the 70s, because it was such a just bizarre decade. 70s and 80s really were bizarre.
In ways.
I don't even see them as being, I know that woman that lived through that period of time who went by my name, but I'm not even sure how closely related we are anymore.
I hear what you're saying. I don't have that particular experience myself.
And I'm not talking about that we were, I don't know, it's just that the memories that I have of the 70s and early 80s through about 85, that 15-year period from more or less 1970, 71, right after I graduated high school.
Yeah.
To 1985-ish.
Yeah.
Just seemed to have happened to somebody else. And I remember them, but not...
Yeah, I understand what you're saying there. It is like a show that you can watch.
Mm-hmm.
And, I was the guy that's in that show. But it's like a previous series is how my
right.
experience is. You go through, you're in a series for a while, and then that series ends, and then you're in another series.
A different series, yeah.
You know,
right.
my second act's Joy. There was a show that ended when we split, and then a new show started when I went to the Hill.
Right.
And that show ended two years ago.
Right.
And you are from the old show, and we carried you over. You know?
Yeah.
Actually, you were supporting cast, and we moved you up to
right. Yeah,
to
that's a
regulars.
good way. That's a good way of describing it, actually, because there are people. When I think about that 15-year period, though, to about 85, there's no one other than family members that have managed to make it to this show.
Yeah,
you know?
For that period you're talking about, Nikki. Nikki's the only one, and I've known her since she was 4.
Right.
That's 40 years.
Yeah.
And
I mean, and what's funny is that what's so bizarre. Okay, there was a guy. I mean, I actually do still know a few people from that period, but
Dix is still from that period.
There was a guy that I knew in high school that sort of dropped out of the world that I was in during that period of time and actually on into
the next phase.
The next phase, okay, and I saw him again in like 98 or 99.
Yeah.
Okay. And so he was sort of peripheral for the last few years. And a couple of years ago, 4 years ago, I guess, during the last election period, he said something that just irritated the blue fuck out of me, and I sort of, went off on him. It wasn't a particularly horrific thing, but it was, I used big words and sounded intelligent in what I had to say, and so he wasn't particularly happy with what I had to say. And what he lashed back with was that I had always been this way. And that I always overreacted to things, and I always blah blah blah. I don't know. There were a number of things. Now, bear in mind that this person, the only time he knew me well was in high school.
Yeah. And people assume you're that way for the rest of your life.
And that was it. That was the straw that broke the camel's back, and it was just like, you know what? I don't need to know you anymore. Goodbye.
Cool.
That's it. I just don't need to know you anymore. I don't want to hear who you think I was and who you think I am, because always is a really big term.